I mean, look, yeah, you got to. If
Yeah.
you keep playing like that without any serious injuries, yeah. Again, Saliba was very good at the back, but he didn't have to do a lot. What he had to do was good, but he didn't have to do a lot because Chelsea was so soft, so poor going forward. I thought the best player again, and he's a key for them, was Partey. Yeah. And what he does is brilliantly efficient at times, where it's 5 and 10 yards, as Stevie said, 5 and 10 yards passes. Doesn't look great round the corner or whatever, tidying things up in the middle of the park. I thought he was brilliant in there. And yeah, I mean, Jesus is not scoring. They're managing to win.
Yes.
He should have scored with a header.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
I like Xhaka.
Yeah, he's playing well.
Who would have thought that?
Who would have thought that?
Yeah. What is it?
When
What's
he was
changed?
leaving, has to be the manager in the setup.
Right.
And the one thing he's doing, he keeps popping up on the edge of the box or in the box. Never did that in his life in the Premier League, ever, until this current Arsenal side he's playing in. All he did, in my opinion, was sit in the middle and pass it sideways and argue with people. And if anybody was running past him, he'd trip them up. He's completely changed his game.
Yeah.
He's absolutely doing none of those things. He's concentrating on playing. And even when he does get involved, he's got that real confident, smart look about him where he's just like baiting the opposition, but looking as though he's butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. Instead of this angry man that was gesturing to his home supporters at one stage. So I tell you, for me, he's amongst probably 4 or 5 players, he's one guy they can't do without, along with his mate Partey right in the middle. What a pair.
But he did show that side at the end.
Towards the end of the corner, wasn't it?
Where Steve was talking about, he seems to have learned his lesson.
Yeah.
The game's done. There's 30 seconds left, and him and Kovacic are going at it, and he wants to go back and get involved, and his teammates are pulling him away. And I'm not suggesting it's a huge thing, but if that ends up as a yellow card, and we know he's got a tendency to pick up a lot of those, it's a suspension that you don't need, and it's a big part of that cog coming out of the team. That was about the only negative had it arisen, because Arsenal were superb.
Frank, before we get you on Chelsea, when I asked the boys if Arsenal can push City all the way, you shook your head. Why?
Well, until City and Arsenal confront themselves, you know, I still think that City is superior to Arsenal. Maybe Arsenal will prove me wrong, but that's what I deeply think, because I see City, comparing to all other clubs in the Premier League, capable of winning all the games that they play, even when they play 10 against 11. Any other team would have lost against Fulham, even if it's at home. But City didn't stop playing the way they play, and they kept on make me feeling that they will win the game. And it's what happened. I don't see Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, Newcastle doing the same as our City, like I don't see Arsenal so far doing like City. Again, when the game should have been played like I think 10 days ago or a fortnight ago. But until they don't confront themselves, I would say that City is still superior than Arsenal.
Let's talk about Chelsea then. 13 points, just seen that on the screen. That's a big difference, isn't it? Between first and seventh as it stands. Why were Chelsea so bad today, Frank?
Well, the guys put the point on something very important, and I think it was Stevie when he talked about the way that Arsenal were playing, that they don't try to get the position of the ball, and they play in 4-5 passes, they go forward and they try to score. I think that's the thing missing for a while now, for maybe years with Chelsea, where they don't put any pace in the game. Tactically nowadays, clubs are ready. Every clubs in the Premier League are ready to cope with any tactics. They work on that. They work for years, for hours. Sorry. They check videos and everything for the week, during the week. Things we didn't do at the time. What we had, it was the fighting spirit, the commitment, and Chelsea doesn't have that. They don't have the pace. They don't know how to commit together. They don't know how to change the rhythm of their game, and so they are so. We so know what they're going to happen. They try to get the possession of the ball, and that's it. There is nothing more than that. Today, except Thiago Silva, I didn't see any player doing something good. I want to know what Havertz is doing offensively. because his right foot, when he had the chance, he made a cross. You know, even if he's a left foot, he's an international player. I don't know what he did with that cross. We ended up not at the far post, but the far post. And defensively on the corner kick, when they conceded the goal, he's the guy who has to kick the ball away. He missed the ball for like 5 inches. I don't know. That's not possible. You know, we all know that he has talent, but what's wrong with him? In his head, like many other players where they don't play, they play just security. I make the passes, I make the pass to make sure that in my statistics that's going to be fine. You know, it's not going to be shown that I missed a pass. That's not enough. You want to win something, or at least you want to finish in the first four. No, they're not going to finish in the first four if they keep on playing like that. Arsenal, I agree with the guy, they were so much superior. They deserve to win. There is no match between the two teams. That's appalling. That's Chelsea Football Club. That's really appalling.
10 days ago when they came back from Austria, the word that everybody was using was momentum. Not brilliant performances, but Graham Potter had...
Yeah, he was unbeaten.
Unbeaten.
Yeah.
They had a bit of momentum rolling. That's been splattered in the space of 7 days. Now, there are already one or two out there who think Todd Bowley and his cronies should go and replace this guy. That's the world that we live in these days. The truth of the matter is, he's got his hands tied behind his back in some sense. He's just arrived in their injury list, and this is no excuse for their performance because they're outplayed, but it's maybe an excuse for why he's struggling to find the right balance within the team.
Liverpool, of course, going on to win by 2-1. First time I think this season that we've seen back-to-back goals in the Premier League from Mohamed Salah. Overall, it was a really weird game, which every game seems to be at the moment, that involves Spurs.
Or Liverpool.
Well, yeah, that's true, I suppose. But Liverpool look more normal than Spurs.
They looked quite sharp early on. And then obviously Dyer sold the jerseys with that mistake. A little bit of change again from Liverpool with Nunez and Salah playing a little closer together with Firmino roaming around. So just getting Salah in that central position where clearly, obviously, he's somebody who just generally is a terrific finisher. But from Tottenham's point of view, they were actually... Listen, it's their fault. There's no point blaming injuries, right? Because we know they have them. It's not because Kulusevski's on the bench and Mora had a Achilles knock and blah, 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 why they start the way they do. It's not, because you saw what they could do in the second half.
Yeah.
They can play. They can get balls in the box and they can get you on the back foot, and Liverpool were hanging on. They can play when they need to, Tottenham. That's the trouble, when they need to.
We saw it against Marseille, we saw it against Bournemouth.
Yeah, but Tottenham's got a problem. They can't go out and start playing like that.
Why?
We'll get a nosebleed.
Well, because had Liverpool taken the chances they had in the second half, this game would have been a ridiculous score. Tottenham cannot start a game and play open football because teams will rip them apart defensively. They cannot defend. They can't defend.
But how can... No, but
they can't defend, Dan.
Second half against Marseille, second half against Bournemouth, second half today, they were the better team.
Well, there's a couple of important things here, Dan. Where was the game at?
No, I don't understand your point.
Well, here's the point.
Okay.
They had no choice. They're 2-0 down. They're getting absolutely battered. They're at home. They've got no choice.
But then
so they start throwing people forward and they start closing the ball down. And that's what I'm saying. We're sitting here thinking that we want to see Tottenham playing the way they played for the last 25 minutes. Right? That's what we're saying. But they can't do that, because if they did that, they'd lose a lot more goals than
But they haven't lost those goals. They didn't lose the goals against Liverpool or Marseille or Bournemouth.
But they didn't because Liverpool doesn't take the chances. That's the point I'm making. This game could have been 6-4 or 6-3 to Liverpool.
I don't know, Stevie.
Did you watch the game?
I did watch the game. Like second half Spurs were the better team.
I didn't say they weren't the better team in the second half.
Right.
I'm telling you that the number of times that Liverpool broke on them and had opportunities, had they either taken a better shot or made a better decision, Tottenham can't defend when they're open. Tottenham's never going to be able to play an open attacking game because when the ball's turned over when they're going forward, they can't defend.
But why haven't they conceded then?
Because Liverpool didn't put the ball in the back of the net.
They didn't concede against Bournemouth when they came out and played better in the second half.
I can't believe you're actually arguing this point with me. Because Tottenham had, number one, had no choices. I've just told you to go forward.
Right.
And everybody's like, oh, great, why can't they do this? But whenever the ball turned over, the holes that they left, the fact that...
But they were 2-0 down.
The fact... What?
How can they defend worse when they're coming out to try and attack if they don't concede, but they concede two against Bournemouth, they concede two against Liverpool, and they concede one against Marseille?
You don't get the point.
No, I don't get your point, Stevie.
The point is Tottenham played the way they did for the last 25 minutes of this game, right? The game would end up being 9-3 every week. Because Tottenham leave holes everywhere. The fact that Marseille and Liverpool didn't take advantage has got nothing to do with the fact that they leave holes all over the shop when they're playing that way.
Liverpool will do that to most teams, Stevie. They'll break on teams like they broke on Tottenham. They'll do that to teams. I thought Tottenham were excellent in this. I thought Tottenham were great in this. Yeah, they're going to give some chances up when they play like that. Who won't?
They were great for 25 minutes. They weren't particularly... Liverpool, until the first goal, Liverpool were all right. Liverpool were comfortable in this game until the first goal. He made a couple of changes, and it's a bad goal to lose. Yeah, it's a great play from Harry Kane, but defensively, it's a shocking goal to lose. Konaté's just terrible defending. So don't. I'm not falling for this. Tottenham can do this from the start of a game to the last. They can.
Italy, the big game today, of course, in Turin. Juventus taking on Inter Milan. Juve with that 2-0 victory. How things have turned around a little bit, I suppose, Allegri's side. When you take a look at what this means and where they stand, they are now 1 point ahead of Inter Milan, sitting fifth in the table. For more on this, let's welcome in Gab Marcotti. Hey, Gab, Allegri should have brought these youngsters in a long time ago.
Yeah, amazing, huh? What happens when you invest a ton of money into your youth academy, develop these youngsters, and then actually decide to play them after 3 months, after your highly paid veterans have basically stunk up the joint. They can actually deliver it for you. Now, obviously, there's a lot of buzz around the likes of Nicola Fagioli, who scored the second goal, Miretti, who played in the hole tonight. The one thing I would say is I don't think Inter were poor in this game. They had their chances. No Lukaku, of course. He's obviously going to be out for an extended period. But if you don't take your chances, you get punished. And we saw a tremendous goal from Rabiot. And then Fagioli scoring on his home debut, the guy who is Juve born and bred. Exciting stuff.
How much is this just the last throw of the dice from Allegri?
I mean, I think they're up to fifth in the table now. They're level on points with Roma, who, of course, lost the Rome derby today. So it's not like a throw of the dice. He knows, I mean, you have told us all along that they're not going to sack him in mid-season. He's got to do something. And, you know, funny enough, Angel Di Maria decided he was fit enough to play. He came on towards the end. If I'm going forward and I'm Juve, I don't need to see Angel Di Maria, frankly, ever again. I want to see people who want to be there, who are going to be part of my future. And I think you start planning for the future. I also think top four is probably attainable if they continue down this path. Remember, Federico Chiesa fit again. Vlahovic not involved tonight, but obviously he's going to be back after the World Cup, perhaps in midweek. So, a lot of things are clicking. You don't want to get carried away, but you do have something there to build on.
And there was a real buzz about Villa Park. Now, it's a new manager, Bounds, whatever you want to call it. But they've got a guy who is actually a very good coach and knows how to coach. And I think that I think it's going to be a really, not because of today, but I do think it's a really exciting appointment for Aston Villa going forward.
They kept absolutely flying out the traps, didn't they? That's exactly what you want from a response for a new manager.
I think they did their homework. I think Unai Emery obviously watched our show last week, and we pointed out, Frank and I, that Martinez was a weakness, and you did say, well, why don't teams pick on the weakness? Well, today, Aston Villa did. So Unai Emery must be watching, Dan. Martinez involved in 2 of the 3 goals, and maybe could have got sent off losing his wife.
Wow, Steve.
So other than that,
Not that you're watching this game with any sort of agenda.
I tell you what.
Other than that, what you're the
Come on, Stevie. Man United were not
he
bad.
sat here.
No.
Hold on. Listen, I'm not
no.
interested in the game. Hold on.
No.
He sat here last week and tried to tell Frankie and I that Martinez was a great defender.
He's been playing
and
well.
that he's been fantastic. Blah blah blah. And Frankie and I tried to tell him he's got some problems and he wouldn't have it. He wouldn't have it.
But he's been one of the best players.
He wouldn't have it.
Would you listen to what he's saying?
I'm not interested in what he's saying.
What are you saying?
I'm telling you.
Listen.
Listen, Frank and I will take an apology. We're not.
Listen.
We're not. We're not.
Listen. We can't look at Man United through the guise of.
No, in this game we can.
We can't look at them through the guise of two guys
Yes, we
who've
can.
had a hot take on a certain player.
Yes, we can. On this game, yes, we can.
I mean, Martinez
Absolutely.
Martinez is too small. Is not going to wash. I'm sorry. You're telling me a guy who plays for Argentina? You're telling me they don't have tall players in Holland?
It's not going to wash, yeah, right.
I mean, it's really not.
Who else is buying him?
Well,
There's nobody else. He's still at Ajax. If Ten Hag hadn't gone to Man United, he's still at Ajax right now.
Well, Ten Hag did go to Man United, and he likes him.
You're not buying it. You're not. You're not going to try and convince me the guy's a centre back.
He's been one of the best players, and then today was not a good day all round. I don't understand.
Aye, right.
Where did it go wrong in particular today?
Well, he's told you.
Well, yes.
I mean, it's one guy. Yeah. I mean, it's not an agenda driven at all. You know what I mean? Well, clearly, Martinez went back in the dressing room, was stripped, flogged, and dragged through the streets all the way back to Manchester off the back of the bus because he was so bad. I'm not buying that.
He should have done.
I'm not buying that. He's been when Varane was fit. Him and Varane were absolutely rock solid there. You know, the guy's an international player.
No, don't give me that. Rock solid. Just because they won some games, you don't see the mistakes.
The guy's been playing well.
Because they win some games, you don't see the mistakes.
Everybody makes mistakes. Show me a player on the pitch that never makes a mistake.
Consistently.
Show me a guy on the pitch. He's been one of the best players. Listen.
It's called getting away with it.
It's no
Every single defender that's ever played the game hasn't always played well.
Coming in with an agenda.
The key is getting away with it.
Once you make a hot take on a player, you've got to backtrack. Harry Maguire's not been playing well.
Harry Maguire's not been playing.
Eric Ten Hag did he buy Lisandro Martinez because he had him at Ajax and he thought he was a bad player who couldn't jump and handle tall players? No, he didn't.
This is bigger than Martinez, obviously, Frank, in the sense that this was Aston Villa coming out and really testing this Manchester United side, who have looked good over recent weeks and whose failings were demonstrated today.
I mean, first I have sympathy for Steven Gerrard. You know, when I see and if I was in his socks, you know, let's say, and watching the game and say, why my players didn't play like that when I was in charge, you know? Is it because of me or because of their mentality? I mean, all the players, they were so focused on what they had to do today because they're so scared of the new coach because they don't know if they're going to play, that they show their talent. I mean, that was an absolutely fantastic Aston Villa team and they deserved the win. Talking about Manchester United, yes, there was almost nothing. I mean, they were still on the coach the first 10 minutes, and they started to play. And let's say that for half an hour they did well, they did quite well. And I'm not going to talk about Martinez because that's another debate. But because they were all bad. But the second half didn't even exist. Didn't even react. As you said, it's the old Manchester United or the Manchester United we saw at the beginning of the season, where you had almost nothing, you had no stamina, you had no collective effort. It was almost nothing. I was so disappointed with what I watched because it was a team who didn't fight for their colours, and that's of course not enough, especially against a very good Aston Villa team.
I'll tell you what, you've got to give Unai Emery some credit because the biggest thing for me in the game was United couldn't handle Bailey coming through the middle.
Right.
Under Gerrard, he's been on the wing and he stood there and stayed there, and we've seen nothing of him. And the one thing I bet United never saw coming was him coming through the middle because they couldn't handle him today whatsoever.
I don't think that was tongue-in-cheek.
I think there was... No, I know. I think at the start of the season, I was kind of beginning to think that maybe this was the partnership.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, again, today, the goal that Liverpool lose, in my opinion, Konate has to do way better. You know, if you're going to play Harry Kane offside, then you leave him. If you're going to go with him, then you've got to get ahead of him. You can't. And he's done nothing, basically. And he's not got close enough. And Harry Kane is so good that he just needs a little slither of space and he hurts you. So I honestly couldn't tell you right now who I think the best partner is.
Another question for you, Stevie. If Liverpool went into the market for a midfielder in January, what type of midfielder do they need?
Declan Rice. I would be happy with that.
Okay.
Well, he does about everything.
It's expensive, though. He's expensive.
Well, Van Dijk was expensive and he's done well for us.
Yes.
Alisson was expensive. He's done great.
Okay.
Now, on the other hand, Keita was expensive and has done nothing.
Okay, you just keep talking.
So you can't always win, even though you pay a lot of money for somebody. But right now, I think Declan Rice would be great for Liverpool, right in the middle of the park.
What's more likely, Denmark winning the World Cup or you dining in shorts?
Denmark,
Denmark, we need the World Cup. For sure.
Well, Canada might not get to the semis now.
I know,
Depends.
Alphonso Davies, obviously a doubt. A lot of people got in contact with me, Frank, worried about your prediction.
It's going to be okay.
It'll
It's going to be okay. I called him and I said, man, you know, I made a crazy prediction. Now you have to show up because otherwise I'm going to be treated like crazy by his ESPN FC people, you know. So
Frank must have some. He must have some money-making scheme in, like in Quebec or something.
Really? You think so? He's invested something somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
No.
He's got something going on.
Nothing.
With all these last-second injuries, Craig, before the World Cup, do you think some players will be cautious and sit out matches this upcoming week if they have any minor injuries, or do you play because they're important league matches? Dun, dun, dun.
Well, if you're carrying a knock, I mean, that's putting the cat among the pigeons.
Yeah.
If you're carrying like a slight calf strain or something like that, you know, what do you do? I mean, if you're fully fit, you're straight in.
Yes.
And then you just have to deal with it. If you're already carrying an injury...
See, here's the thing, if you think about it, right? So when we played, we could just turn around and go, I've got this or I've got that.
Right.
You think of all the medical staff they've got now?
Send you for a scan.
They'll be like, this is what he's at it.
Right.
Yeah, you're not
And they
gonna-
can start send you for scans and all kinds and go, nothing there. Whereas before, if you wanted to make sure, you could just go, no, sorry. Bit tight in the hamstring.
Yeah, Shaka always said the back was a good one because it was a difficult one to assess.
Yeah, but it's a difficult one to try and
Back was always a good one.
Yeah. Frank, would you be 100% committed to Chelsea if France was just around the corner?
Yes, of course, because you cannot calculate, and it's impossible. We talked about that last week, I think, with Shaka during the show, where you say you cannot think too much about what if you have to slow down, you know, during a game, because it's where you're going to get injured, because you're not completely focused on what you have to do. You don't know. I mean, you think about not getting injured is when you start getting injured. You know, when you don't think about it and you go for it, you know, you avoid many problems. You know, for the other thing, it's not only the back that you can use in that case. The ankle also is
it's a good one.
Impossible to know if you really have a problem. Yeah, it's a very good one.
Do you know what I've been impressed with, Frank, over the years?
Got the wax bath then, eh?
The improvement of the word focus coming from you. Focus has definitely improved over the years from where we started.
I worked hard on it.
Yes.
I worked very hard on it. I know.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.